Hi, Emily.
Hey Shannon, how's it going?
It's going well. We're in a new month. We have a new topic. That's wrong. It's wrong, Emily.
Our
Whatever I
year
was going to
topic is
say.
exploration, and our month
Yes,
topic is, drumroll please, experimentation.
experimentation. And this is what I have to say about experimentation. Experimentation sounds like a risk. Benefits?
Many.
Friends, family, journeyers, if you thought that Emily was going to say, no, there are no benefits to experimentation, then you're watching the wrong show.
You
Okay.
you don't know me at all. This could be your first time. But I love experiments. I am a
Yeah.
scientist, and so therefore I love experiments.
Yeah.
Um, and experimentation. And I think what we can talk about today is like, when some people think about experiments, you might be thinking about like people with lab coats with chemicals, or in my case, in the behaviorism world, with rats and pigeons.
Oh,
But
no.
but that's not the reality for most humans.
Right.
So what does experimentation look like for most humans?
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is on and off. So we're going to look at what does experimentation look like we're just talk about it for most humans on and off the stage, friends.
Mhm.
And when we talk about experimentation on stage, we have this beautiful we're practicing under the umbrella of improv, right? This is specifically improv talk, and we are given the tools to try anything, right? What can I do? What characters can I be? And how do I create those characters? I can use my body, I can use my voice, I can use my history. What, if not events, but environments can I create? I can use my body, I can use my history, I can use things that have happened to me, I can use storybooks. And really, what we're trying to do on stage is remember that in order to tell a story, we can use anything at our disposal, and what at our disposal will tell the story the
Yeah.
best way possible.
Uh-huh. Yep, exactly. And then
Mhm.
off the stage, I think experimentation can mean a lot of things. It's a
Mhm.
lot of like, I think if we're doing kind of direct parallel, we want to say like, how can you tell your story in the best way possible?
Mhm.
Uh, you know, what is what's a new thing to try out? Every time you try something out, it's an experiment,
Mhm.
right? Just like when you're on the stage, when you try something new, it's an experiment. When you're off the stage, when you go to that new restaurant that just opened, it's an experiment. Do you
Right.
like it or no?
Right. And it's do you like it or no? And what are your values?
Yeah.
Do you like it or no? Because we can be on stage or off stage trying anything, right?
Mhm.
Oh, today I want to try having green hair. Today I want to try walking with a cane. Today I want to try skating everywhere I go. Today I'm only going to speak one of my many different languages that I speak, but I'm only going to speak one. These are great, great, just anything. I'm going to get a dog. I'm just throwing out random things now, Emily. Okay, I'm bringing it back. But what is the value? What is the thing? Because this is right up your alley, right? As a hypothesis, what is my hypothesis about who I am trying to
Mhm.
be? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the values, your values will guide what you're experimenting with, right? When you're listing all those things, it it's not likely that someone's just waking up in the morning and like out of nowhere, like, I'm going to have green hair or get a dog.
Right.
It's likely those things are guided by, if you value being unique or standing out, green hair. If you value companionship, a dog, or you know, those are going to guide it. And I think you're right about the hypothesis, because what you're asking is, is this thing that I want to try in line, like we just said, in line with who I want to be, in line
Mhm.
with what my value is? Will that get me closer to being more unique or getting more attention? Will that bring me to feeling a greater sense of companionship.
Yeah.
On stage, that might look like if you're valuing heightened if you as an improviser are like, I am going to play, I find relationship building to be very important, connection with my fellow improvisers to be very important. Maybe your experiment that you're doing is trying a different way to connect with
Mhm.
the scene partner, and you're seeing, is this getting me closer to what I value, or am I moving away from it? This is
Right. Yeah. The game on stage that helps me, or that I think of when I am thinking of experimentation, is New Choice.
Mhm.
And if you haven't played New Choice, you should play it or try it. But if you haven't played New Choice, this game is all about having one or multiple characters going through a regular day, whatever their day is, and at any time somebody yells New Choice on something that one of those characters said, and they have to pick something new to say. And this is, I feel like it encompasses almost all of the things we're talking about, because when we play that game, really, you can play in the way that, okay, I'm just picking out random things, sure. But what you're talking about as far as off the stage is these values. What type of thing am I valuing being more being not energetic but bold? Am I valuing being bold in my life? Then this green hair thing is right in line. And on stage, we are asking that you keep your character, right? That you keep the values of your character. This is a step up, right? Of playing New Choice. But if we keep the values of our character, when we hear New Choice, New Choice, New Choice, you're gonna those values are gonna shape your new choice. So it doesn't feel like I'm just randomly pulling out anything from
Yeah.
anywhere. What it feels like is this character is choosing things that are in line with wanting to slay the dragon. It, like, I'm the littlest villager, but I want to slay the dragon. Great. What are the choices that you're going to make in order to do that?
Right. And they can get absurd. I mean, part of like, we're gonna
Right.
deep dive into that game for a second. Like, the part of the point is that you heighten it. And so it's like, I'm going to slay the dragon with a
Right.
sword, with a kitchen knife, with a toothpick. Uh
Mm-hmm.
it gets more absurd, but still in line with uh with the desires, the objectives, wants and needs, and the values of
Mm-hmm.
that character.
Yeah. I'm waving at all of our hi everybody. Hi journeyers. Welcome. Join us in the chat if you would like to join in on our our chat, which is experimentation sounds like a risk. Are there benefits? Let's talk about those benefits. So, okay, we, we're we've been building into what experimentation looks like, right?
Mhm.
And why we might want to experiment. And as far as on stage goes, that's helping us, like, okay, if I get into this space where I'm playing New Choice, it's helping us really realize that any choice is okay, and mostly those choices are going to be based on some values, something that is already in place in your life.
Yeah.
But people are going to be like, but if things are already in place in my life, why would I want to experiment? If everything is pretty much copacetic, why do I want to experiment? So let's talk about why
Yeah.
why
Well,
should you experiment?
while let's talk about that, I would love if journeyers could put in the chat like what you've been experimenting with lately, and that'll kind
Mm,
of help us feed into our conversation. Um
yes.
but I think the simplest reason to why we have to experiment sometimes is because life isn't static, right? Uh the world is not one thing all the time forever. Things are
Oh,
going to change because that is the way life is, right? And so we, even if we don't want to, sometimes we have to try something
mhm.
new just to survive, just to get by. Uh we can thrive by proactively and like leaning in to experimentation, but everyone has to do some at some point because the world isn't just set. Even if you're totally happy where you are, sorry, Freddie, it's not happening.
This is so big. It's like the word change is so big to me, because you're absolutely right. This idea that you finally, like, you did it. I did it. I woke up this morning. I have the haircut. I have the shirts. I have the shoes. I have the house. I have where I want to be. The things are, I am who I want to be. But things outside of my bubble will inevitably shift. This
Even things
happens.
inside your bubble, right? If you're like, I had the exact hair that I want. Guess what? Your hair grows. Like, you can keep cutting it to and styling it to what you want, but it gets a little bit longer every
Mhm.
day. Uh, or in some cases you lose it a little bit every day.
Mhm,
Did
mhm.
you know that your hair falls out when you're breastfeeding? It's super
Let's-
fun for me right now.
I
uh
love
and so
this.
like even those things, even if you have made all these like perfect decisions, your body marches on, right?
Mhm.
Time marches on. The clothes that you have are going to wear out eventually. The
Right.
house that you have will need maintenance. Your shoes will get worn out. You need to take a bath. I don't know. Like,
No,
everything's gonna happen. What?
no, no, not my shoes,
I know.
Emily.
It's true. Your shoes are gonna wear out. So what one day you're gonna be walking along and then all of a sudden your heel's gonna be somewhere else on the other side of the room and you're gonna say,
True.
why did that happen in the middle of a
It's
work
true.
event?
Oh no. Emily is sharing her life
I'm
with
just
us.
having flashbacks
My
here.
journeyers. My journeyers. Emily is sharing her life. This is so good, right?
Mhm.
This is so good. When we practice exactly that, when we practice uh, seeing at quick paces on stage things changing around us, and being able to be nimble as far as, like, okay, everything is changing. One, someone is consistently yelling, constantly yelling, new choice, new choice, new choice, with no regard to where I am trying to take this story.
Mhm.
But and then you have offers being offered at you. People are coming into your scene. You're trying to move through the scene, and you still have to figure out, like, how to stay flexible and how to stay you, whoever you are in that moment. And I feel like improv really helps us get over the quick decisions. Aha. All right, I'm almost there. It really helps us get over, like, making decisions quickly, so we don't feel too overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And we're talking about experiment, and as we're making those decisions, just like, okay, yeah, I'm making it quickly and not judging the decision. Last
Mhm.
thing I'll say about that is improv on the stage also helps us to imagine wild, wild choices, right? And when we can imagine those things on stage, it helps us to imagine them off stage, so that what would you call it? The small risk that you take doesn't have to be as wild as your wildest imagination, right? Like, your
Yeah.
wildest imagination may be, I'm going to take somebody else's hair and make a wig and put it on my head. Okay, that's like really wild. So then maybe if that's the wildest, maybe getting a haircut or dyeing your hair a different color doesn't feel so um, enormous.
Yeah. I think that's something that would probably be a good thing, to talk with Luke about in terms of when we're talking about that exact thing, right? If you to use it in a therapeutic sense,
Hmm.
right? If you're thinking about a decision to make, you can kind of role play and try out these bigger, bigger, more not necessarily more dramatic, but just, larger concept or like
Yeah.
more ridiculous things, and kind of pare that down to like, oh, what is realistic and what is, and compared to stealing someone else's hair, getting a haircut's fine.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to
uh,
you.
um, yeah. Oh, I had another thing, and I'm doing the thing with the mom brain.
Mom
Uh,
brain. You
you
keep
keep talking, and I'll
Yeah,
remember.
you keep thinking on mom brain. One of the things, so we were talking, oh no, I your mom brain's rubbing off.
Uh oh.
Benefits. I was going to talk about we're making giant choices.
You're
Ooh,
making giant choices
Emily.
on the stage so we can make little choices off the stage
Off
because we're
the
doing it in a safe space on the
stage.
stage and in the real world. Hello, journeyers. Welcome to Emily and Shannon try to find the thread.
It's it might not. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's God. It might be completely goodbye benefits. Oh. Okay. So here. I think it's coming to me. When one of the benefits is you get to try new selves. You get to
Mm,
try new selves. So and surprise, that's the word that I was looking for. So when we practice taking risks on stage specifically, when we're just like, okay, yes, new choice, new choice, I'm going to take this risk, I'm going to make this choice. Sometimes when we let ourselves be free like that, we surprise ourselves in making a choice that we, one, wouldn't usually have made, and two, we like. And I find when we're talking about experimentation feels like a risk, what are the benefits? You may make a choice or take a risk that surprises you so much and it changes the course of your values or your story. On stage, this looks like when you're really, because you were talking about this earlier, when we really are getting deeper into the new choice, new choice, new choice. And if you're being new choice like a lot in a row, sometimes you'll choose something that's just so far out there that's because it's somewhere deep in your brain, or it's just you're so free and so going with the flow. And that choice can like, it's so fun to be surprised at your own, like at your own choices. Oh, that's not something I would have ever even thought. And to
mm-hmm,
take that experiment maybe off stage and start to see just like, okay, this isn't something I would really try, but it's so far away, so far from who I am. Maybe it's fun.
yeah.
Let's just see.
Maybe. Well, and I think I remember what one of the things was, and this ties in nicely.
Great.
Even when you try something that's wildly different, you said before we make choices without judgment, and I think I think there's something to kind of parse together out there because I think one of the reasons why we think about experiment as risk is that we're like, what if we make the wrong choice, or what if we make a
Yes.
bad choice, right? And not every choice is the best choice. Right, and some choices, and some choices are you could say morally bad choices, right? The concept of making a choice without judgment, right, is if you're following in line with your values, right? If you are making a choice that maybe you could have made a better choice, but it was in line with what is important to you, your character, etc., then I wouldn't call it a morally, like, I wouldn't call it a bad choice.
Mm.
uh
Hmm.
I mean, I guess we can get into like this big philosophy about
Right.
like morals and all that stuff, but like um I would have that conversation a lot when I was supervising direct staff who would work directly with my clients, right? I would say to them like, hey, you might screw up if you're doing it in service of the client. Like if you don't know what to do and you do something and your intent was for that client, I'm not gonna be mad about it, you
Right.
know? Uh, and I think that's something that is important for us to embrace. Like, yeah, we're going to make mistakes because, of course, we do, but we're doing it in line with what's important. And
Hmm.
and we learn from it, right? Uh, that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there in that I can make a choice that's so far away from who I am. Let's try it. Let's see. Being in improv helps us exactly to do exactly what you're talking about, to look at the choice like, okay, let's try it, let's see it. Maybe it doesn't go so great, but now inevitably you've changed something about yourself because you went ahead and tried. You
Hmm.
persevered, you learned something. um and I love those moments on stage where the character makes a choice, and the audience, have you like the audience, the other improvisers are just like, oh, like everyone's like, no, oh no, like what have you done?
I do that so often because my it and sometimes that happens, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
we acknowledge that it happened. We apologize if necessary, or whatever level of
Oh.
owning up is necessary to that. Oftentimes for
Mhm.
me, it's like, oh, that was a bad just that was a bad
Ignore,
idea. Just
ignore.
put that over there. We're just gonna move on. Scratch that.
Yeah, and one of the things that's important to me to note is that when the audience or other improvisers are doing this, like, right, in that moment it can feel so embarrassing, whatever choice you've made that's like crumbling or whatnot. You're just like, so like, everyone's looking at me. But I want to offer this: the feeling that you are feeling, this, like, the embarrassment or itchiness, is this exact same feeling that your audience members or your players are feeling as well when they're recoiling. We're
Mhm.
all feeling it, just shows up differently, right? We're all feeling the same thing. And instead of feeling small and like everyone is really pointing at you, if you can remember that everyone is feeling the same way, you can ask for help. And that's on and off the stage, right? We're all feeling super embarrassed about whatever it is. Maybe, who knows? But, it's embarrassing. And you can ask for help. Like, whoa, yeah, sorry. Hey, new choice. You can ask the audience, what's a new choice? What is you new choice me? Hey, you over there, like partner of mine,
Scratch
Emily.
what I just said. You tell me what to say.
Yeah, let's work through this together. And you can do that in real life as well.
Hmm.
It feels like this right here, this it sounds like risk. It feels like risk. I'm like thinking about relationships. It feels like a risk to say I'm sorry, to apologize, to even bring something up at all that's awkward or whatnot. But if you're feeling it, everyone's feeling it. The people
Yeah.
closest to you, are feeling it. So the benefit of bringing it up is to keep those relationships, keep your audience leaned in, make your audience, or at least invite your audience to feel safer in your presence because you're willing to talk about whatever risk you took that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, I think that's a super important point, saying make other people feel safer.
Hmm.
Uh that is a huge thing, right? Um when we're thinking about, especially when we're thinking about how we as a culture have been having more conversations lately about sexual harassment, about racism, about all of these
Hmm.
things
Hmm.
that people with privilege would say without without really thinking about it.
Hmm.
I think what we're learning is that if you are aware and you actually care about the people around you, right? That you are going to be feeling what they're feeling, that it
Hmm.
is okay to apologize because it makes people feel safer, to recognize, like, hey, I did it bad. Hey,
Hmm.
that was not cool. That was not cool of me. Uh, People are going to like you more and your life is going to be richer.
Yeah. Yeah. The benefits are so great. It's very, what we do on stage is super vulnerable, right? You're in a vulnerable spot doing these make em ups and trying to figure out what a story, what story you are telling with other people. And everyone's bringing their own backgrounds, everyone's bringing their own perspectives to the stage. And it is fun to experiment. Oh, one of we have a little bit of time. Great. One of the great experiments that I love to put improvisers through is just to use names from your culture, background, heritage, family on stage instead of defaulting to Bob, Sarah,
Yep,
Jane.
I do Janice a lot.
Right. Right. But like the idea of using words like or names, Neha, Benetti, Zaria, artists, like these are names that are in my own head, and it is an experiment to put those names out there, right? To use those names and to name people, because you don't know what you're going to get. You may get somebody feeling like, oh, suddenly I heard this name and now obviously I'm a Viking. Like, well, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to do that. We can just like be, we can just coast. But the experiment really is to use the name, because when we use names from our heritage, our family, whatever, we immediately have some sort of like attachment to that name.
Yeah.
And then we have a relationship, whether we like it or not. And that relationship doesn't have to be talked about. It's just like in your head, and it helps to build your character. But all that to be said, it is an experiment, right? And it is a risk that you're taking. But the benefit of using a name from your culture is you get buy-in from your audience, from your players, and you get to put a piece of you on stage.
I love
Like,
that.
yeah, it's like, it's good. It's good benefits. It's good benefits.
Good
The
benefit.
benefits are good.
If you in it, that's one of those things where, we kind of cycle back a lot to, if you have a healthy troop when you're making these risks, you're more likely to get a benefit from it,
Yeah.
right? When you're taking those sorts of risks where you're being vulnerable with things that are important to you, with things in your heart, your team is more likely to support you and be there for
Mm-hmm.
you, if you have a healthy team,
Yeah.
right? Uh, which I love. Um, and I think if you are a kind of person who is nervous about taking risks and nervous about experimenting, I think that might be a good first step, is to find places where, the benefit is more you're more likely to benefit from the outcome. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I'm trying to think of like a good example. We've talked about this before, the like ordering water at
Oh,
a restaurant instead of like, I don't know, d- uh, your friend's closet. I don't know. Uh, but something where, if you are around, if you're with a friend and you go up to someone and you give them a hug, you're more
mm-hmm.
likely to get a reciprocal hug and like a good reaction out of that. If you are at a biker bar full of people you don't know, I'm sure bikers are lovely people, but if you don't know them, they're probably gonna be wary of you, and you try to hug one of them, probably not as good,
Not great. It's
probably
not a
not
good
as good a
time.
benefit.
Your timing's
Uh,
not good.
so the context there matters. I think that is incredibly important if you're someone who's a little bit risk averse there.
Mm-hmm. My last little baby thought on that is tell your closest people what risk you are taking, and that is definitely on and off the stage. Like Emily, you're talking about having a great troupe, a healthy troupe. Tell them like, hey, I'm gonna try using names from my culture, or I'm gonna try being an ogre. We love ogres on this show. But I'm and and if you tell them that way, when you get on stage or you go to work or wherever it is, biker bar that you're going to, if you're going with people, they know like, hey, oh, Shannon's trying hugging bikers. That's what Shannon is trying. And we're just gonna stand back. Oh, it's going well. Great. Nothing to do. It's going poorly. Hey, everybody
Hey,
support
let's go somewhere else.
and that's what's also happening off on stage,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to try these names. You're not trying to surprise people, but you are trying to experiment and see like how it changes your play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Ah,
We're doing it.
beautiful.
We're doing it. We did it. We're doing it. Friends, family, journeyers. Emily Arnold and I are always experimenting, and you should be experimenting on and
Off the stage. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.